vegetable garden has an environmental aspect, but it also has a social aspect, because by getting involved in this young doctor, he has become involved again in, he has taken gardening courses, and he has reconnected with this consumption, responsible consumption groups, you know, that there are in Madrid, in which you buy a basket of products that comes from nearby farms. And so this way, the, the vertical vegetable garden provides food, but it also kind of enlarges the possibilities of a house as a device that helps in create social relations. So somehow it's a relational capacity.
Yes, this goes well in our studio in here, like in the master project. We are very interested also in urban acupuncture. I don't know if you are familiarized with that term. So your house, like for me, as you have explained, it works in this way. Also, like for me, in two directions in urban acupuncture. First, like it's a model of trying to understand how can a house in Madrid can be sustainable, and that to be an inspiration for other houses to be like this.
Mm.
And the other one, what you just explained, that is more down to earth, directly you propose directly that it interacts with a larger, that is just a nail you put in a place, and you try to do a chain effect into other parts of the city, or other houses, other people in general. No, I understand it also like a way of this. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I think it's we're interested in this kind of urban acupuncture, or the actions that are actually have this catalytic effect. So let's say that they are like the previous project, the garden building, or this project. You could think of it as an action that is concentrated in an area that has its limits, but somehow, if it's designed in such a way, it sort of can have an effect in which other initiatives can be taken, or there's other people that can be mobilized and can start to participate in some of these initiatives, like in the previous project, for example, in the garden building. Actually, that project went on for 10 years, more than 10 years. And then they sold the building, the people, the group of women who actually commissioned that to us. But what is nice is also that the project has kind of, we don't know exactly what are the new owners going to make in relation to the insects, to the caterpillars, to the birds, to plants, but it wasn't looking that good. But what is good is that the people who were actually in the building, that lived there, that were part of this group of women, they moved to another one. So one of them, and actually she made that building into another Host and Nectar garden building. She planted the same type of plants. She kind of created the similar strategy, and some other people were also doing that in their houses, in their balconies, and yeah. So somehow that can have a broader, let's say, impact, even if it's in small scale, but can somehow produce an effect also in the imaginaries. And that's why also when we did last year, we did when we finished the One Guy, One Bulldog and the Vegetable Garden project, there was an open house event, you know, the one in which people go and visit houses, and then they invited, they actually invited us to participate with the project, and a lot of people came to see it, and they were actually saying some of the things that you are saying, like it sort of helps to remove barriers of imagining, oh, this is not possible to do it, but then you make it, you test it, and then maybe we could implement it in the whole building. So yeah, they are let's say the size is kind of limited, defined, but somehow where is it going to end? We don't know. We're actually maybe implementing a similar system in this other project we are involved right now with the foundation that I was telling you at the beginning. Maybe, or we will see.
Yeah, finally, it's like a kind of, for me, after all the conference we had from all our colleagues, that everyone has done an interview like this, like a little conference. I understand it as a, as you say, as a philosophy that can be set in an element of the architecture. For example, in the case of the garden building was in the facade, and there you insert your philosophy there, and maybe it can go or not. So yeah, it's something a bit like this. And talking about also the ecosystem, just for finishing and for reinforcing this idea, um, do you think that architecture has to be thought more like a part of an ecosystem, or no, or you think that is independent, like from it? I will guess the answer, but yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a very relevant question. I think it's I think our work as architects, we operate in a broad frame. It's true that many of us, we make projects for clients, we get commissions, which can vary very specific, to which of course is important to answer and to offer an answer and to relate to. But for us, this can be very limited. It can be a very limited approach and a very problematic one. So I think any spatial interventions and the agents involved are affected by architecture, and it also affects the ecosystem where different agents coexist, and together these agents and these contribute and benefit from the ecosystem, let's say. So we are also dependent on those ecosystems around us. They provide us with a lot of services, and we also kind of put into those ecosystems a lot of things we don't use or we consume from there. So, and we're also totally dependent on them. So these agents intervening in a territory, in an ecosystem, they are expanded in a large territory, which is usually much bigger than our material direct actions. And this will continue happening whether we want to be aware of it or not. So it is going to be there. So for us, it's fundamental. It's really fundamental to take into account and work acknowledging the different agents and the ecosystem, and also taking into account the singularities implied. This is also important. So it comes back to the beginning where we were talking about the micro realities. So it's important to take into account these singularities implied, and also the relation of interdependence between them, between these singularities between them and the ecosystem. And I think in this context, architecture really plays a key role and actively participates. So we are interested in the search for an architecture or spatial practices that can respond to the ecosystem, to the ecosystems to which they relate, and also to the agents involved. But we emphasize that we are interested in taking into account the specificity, the similarity of these agents.
Yeah. No, I think it's I agree with your idea, with your concept of making this kind of architecture, and I think it's like every era of architects has had a thing that it's like the main character, like the main theme of their time. Like, for example, modern architecture was to break the dogmas of ancient architecture, and postmodern other things. And now what we have found, that is the big problem of our days, is the global warming and all other things that it involves. So that's I think that is more our era, that what our response isn't a philosophic or formal response anymore in these days, but more our problems are more these real problems with the earth. I found that this philosophy of architects nowadays have to go in that direction, in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally true, that there is a need to reflect upon that, to reflect on many aspects related to the environment and to spatial practices such as architecture. But I would say that there's more I mean, not necessarily because of its urgency. It's necessarily always taken seriously, and it's always something that it's kind of put into practice. It's like when you hear of the wish of many people who, after this crisis of COVID, they just think of going back to the normality that was there before, which is somehow very much related, probably, according to many hypotheses, also linked to that normality, to the situation in which we are right now, to the way that the nature has been pushed sidewards, to the way that agriculture has taken so many land and the cattle and all of that, pushing all of the nature, let's say, to the sides until taking it to the very limits, taking for us most of the resources, breaking on any possible balance. So I think when we think of just making spaces, making buildings, making architecture, making systems that are not thinking about this whole complexity and this territoriality that is so broad, maybe we will kind of keep on doing the same with a different maybe makeup. I don't know, but certainly it's something that we must address more and more, and I'm also hopeful that your generation will do it much more intensively than than the previous ones. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, I think that's the end of the interview. Thank you very much for attending this YouTube channel, we can call it. and well, it's been a pleasure always speaking about these kind of topics with you, that you know a lot. You have a great background behind, so it's good to have these ideas from someone that is that has done it now, like for more than 10 years. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Danny. We look forward to seeing what you've been doing and to the results of this project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye bye.